I just don't think it's a very good show.
Hey everyone, this is Vassals of Kingsgrave. My name's Bina 007. We're going to have a slightly gonzo discussion about the latest episode, which is episode 5 of Rings of Power Season 2. I'm joined in all his nerd rage by Matt.
Varley on the Discord forums, whatever we're doing. It's been a long time since I podcasted.
I know, so I wanted to get you on. And also by OG podcaster Amber,
Hey, this is still Amberrocks.
but apparently not rocking about this show. Seeing as you guys were not on the episode where we did the first 4, in general, what lemon cake rating are you giving to this season so far, Matt? And do you want to explain to the listener who did not hear you nerd out over Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion your relationship to Tolkien?
Sure. So, yeah, we did a Silmarillion podcast series, at this point, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. So I'm deep into the Tolkien lore. I have a couple of Tolkien tattoos. So I find it really disappointing that they're trying to condense like 2,000 years of history into 6 months on this show. I think they rely heavily on Easter eggs that maybe me and a couple other super nerds might pick up on. I think that they're foreshadowing things that Tolkien very briefly touched on in maybe some of the unfinished tale books, especially with the Dark Wizard and Rune. This whole ambiguity over is the stranger Gandalf or no? Like, oh, he's got to find his Gond. And it's like, Jesus Christ, come on, just say it. And him getting stuck in the old hickory tree or whatever the fuck it was instead of the hobbits getting stuck in the willow tree. I feel like the show's trying to make up for sins of the movies that they were left out on. That being said, we're back in the world, and I'd rather be in this world than have to do without it. But it's disappointing. And not only that, but as a show, the storyline is like disjuncted. They're trying to do too much and add too much, like secondary characters that don't really need to be focused on. Arondir is one of them. I could not give a fuck about Adar. Yeah, so I guess let's call it 2.5 lemon cakes.
That's savage. Is that higher or lower than last season, though?
I think last season had the same storyline problems, but I was just so impressed visually how they made the world come to life, that it gave me kind of like rose-colored glasses on the season. So it's
Yeah.
probably lower. I don't remember what I gave last season or if I even podcasted about it.
Yeah, I don't think you did podcast about it. I mean, to me, this season's better because I think it coheres better. But yeah, I'm probably still in the 3.5s. It's probably worth just repeating. I hope he doesn't mind me doing this, but hey, he's not listening anyway. The legendary OG podcaster hashtag Greg apparently is only on episode 2, and this is what he wrote. Just starting episode 2, such rage. What the fuck is a dark wizard? What is this rune bullshit? Also, I forgot how much I dislike the concept of stone singing. A first age bottle? Fuck off. So, I think you guys are of a mind, aren't you, Matt? Or do you think you're less like raging than Greg?
I think we're very similarly minded. It's all these like little unnecessary add-ons that just don't add anything to the story. Where it's very similar to like House of the Dragon, where they ran out of money, but they had like a chance to see a dragon chase two guys into a forest, so they made that scene. They're too low on budget, but they added in what's his face flying to Dragonstone, so they could have like 5 dragons on them. It just doesn't make fucking sense.
All right, so Amberrocks, where would you position yourself on the spectrum from Matt and hashtag Greg at one end to maybe me and Brett White Raven at the other? Are you more rage or more tolerant of this show?
I guess I'm probably if that's the end of the spectrum that we're on, I would probably say right in the middle.
I
Maybe
mean,
a
you can be on your
two.
own spectrum. You don't have to adopt my heuristic here.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good because unfortunately for this show, there is no real other end where I don't feel like I haven't talked to many people about it, but I don't feel like I've talked to anybody who's just like, this show is fucking amazing. And in my head, of course, it's really hard to, just because of the timing of it all, it's hard to not continue to compare it to House of the Dragon, which I really love. But yeah, I would give it a 2 as someone who, honestly, I would say in the Tolkien verse, the original movies, huge favorite. We used to watch them every year at Christmas for a good many years. Second to that, I love all the podcasts that you guys have done. And then sort of trailing behind that would be probably The Hobbit. And then I did actually read the fucking book after you guys, after, following along one of your rereads maybe 10 years ago or something. So, and then this. And so what's funny is I'm not coming at it with rage because I have knowledge and I actually have opinion, like, or some source material to compare it to. But as somebody who usually just sort of goes along and likes everything, the acting is good, but I find all the actors annoying. The sets look beautiful, but I find it cheesy. The costumes are phenomenal, and yet I just find everything super annoying. Like, just as a super layperson, I get hung up on like, Galadriel doesn't move her mouth when she talks. Like, really silly stuff that for some reason I
That's really funny.
enjoy nitpick watching this show.
The one that gets me is Elendil's wig. Just being
Oh,
so, like, for a show with such good costumes and such beautiful general, being put together. Like, get a better wig, man.
and he wears a lot of makeup for a bearded
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, so I considered whether, and that's probably about the same as the first season for me, and I considered whether I would watch it again because there just aren't enough hours in the day, but it's not, I don't rage watch when I watch it. I mildly irritably watch it. And I'll just continue to do that and
Just be
listen to
mildly
podcasts.
irritated.
Yeah. I mean, I have other things to keep me happy. So, yeah, all that to say, it's like a 2.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people did drop off from season 1 to season 2. If you look at we'll never know the ratings because Amazon will never really tell us. But it does feel like a lot of us, we just watch it because in a sense, we're a fan of Lord of the Rings and there's a sort of familiarity. And I can't bring myself to not watch it, but it's not something that I'm like, oh my God, there's a new episode out. I have to watch it immediately. I don't run
Yeah,
to
I guess I'm hope watching that
Yeah,
that it
Yeah.
will improve.
Can I read something from Forbes
go for it.
real quick? Over 50% of viewers that start season 1 have not come back to watch season 2. Most of these aren't angry or hate watching, they're just apathetic. That's probably worse. After all, hate watching counts as a view, just as any other kind of watching. Co-showrunner J.D. Payne seems to understand this. In a recent interview, he told the Hollywood Reporter, he said that he's happy to have detractors watch the series as well as fans. Quote, the Fellowship had to look to each other and those who support it and remember what it's fighting for. And when we see that millions of people are watching this and responding so positively to it, that's who we're fighting for. And those who watch every episode and negatively write about it on social media and make YouTube videos, we're happy to have you guys too. It wouldn't be a journey through Middle Earth without some trolls along the way. And
Oh, I don't know. I mean, apathy, I guess, is the point. I was thinking that, House of the Dragons, even this year, there were 2 episodes per week on every episode on Vassals of Kingsgrave. And we did like
Mhm.
1 episode after episodes 1 through 4. And we're only doing this one because we were like, oh, let's just have a chat. Like, it's not like we were like, oh, we have to podcast about every episode. It was just, let's just catch up, right, and chat. So I think
Yeah.
apathy is kind of the right word, really. Yeah, I think out of all of us, I feel like White Raven, and this is interesting, right? Because White Raven is a sort of Tolkien lore master, like hashtag Greg and you, but he's very Zen-like about this. Maybe he's just Zen-like about life, but he's very much like, it's a TV show. It is what it is. It's entertaining me. I'm happy, and I feel
Well, he also has 3 boys, so any escape is a good escape.
But he made a good point though about speeding up the timelines because a lot of the law masters, like your issue is that this should have taken 1,000 years. Like the corruption of whatever takes a long time. And
Yeah, so
Brett made a really good point. He was like, do you want to watch a show where only half the main characters stay from episode to episode because they have to speed through time and you're always being fed up with who everyone is all the time? Or would you rather they speed up timelines, keep the characters, and tell a story about the fall in a few entertaining plot-packed seasons? This way, you get the emotional impact of these characters that have been on this journey with you. I'm pretty much good with most of it. Galadriel kind of bugs me. A lot of the elves have punchable and not the beautiful faces I attribute to elves, and those abominations that pass off as rings of power. But, like, I think he makes a good point. Like, if you're trying to make a TV show about a story that spans thousands of years, I'm not entirely sure how else you do it.
Well, I mean, then don't take on the project. Like, you know, the original Game of Thrones couldn't have certain things because we're too dumb to keep so many characters in our head. It's like, then don't do it, man. Like, if you can't do it justice, then don't do it.
But money.
I know, and they spent a lot on this, and yet, like, they're just blowing it, And now they're gonna make what, The Hunt for Gollum into 2 movies? Like, who the fuck asked for that?
I know. My husband told me it was going to be 2 movies, and I was like, yes, because The Hobbit was 3 movies, because why not? Because money. It's just like doesn't need to be that way.
The Hobbit was like a 120-page book. Compared to like Lord of the Rings. Like, Lord of the Rings, I get it. There's 3 books, 3 movies, let's go. Oh my god. But they had to make Radagast look like a fucking clown.
Any thoughts on this episode in particular, though? Because I actually did like this episode because I was like, okay, we're finally getting down to it. Things are being corrupted. Rings be doing ring stuff on people. The dwarves are now getting dragged into this too. Like, I felt like we were finally getting some momentum, and it probably helped that we weren't pinging around like there was nothing going on in, the Southlands or in Rune. It was just very focused on elves and dwarves, which I liked. So did you like at least this episode more than the others, or did you still hate this episode?
I did. I like. So, all right. So in the timeline, the fall of Khazad-dûm to the Balrog or Durin's Bane occurs in the Third Age, like 2,000 years into it or something. And Anatar comes to Celebrimbor in like 1500 of the Second Age after being rejected by Gil-galad and Elrond. So the fact that Disa, who I love, but fucking slap a beard on her, please. Like these are like the little things that really nitpick for me. That she senses something evil lurking, and it's still supposed to not emerge for 2,000 years. Just like really irks me, and it really shows like there was a steady decline in Numenor of leader after leader kind of falling away from the faith until Palantir came and tried to reconcile everyone, and then he died, and the next 2 leaders led to Pharazôn, who we saw looking into the Seeing Stone and being corrupted by I don't know who. Like, is fucking Sauron like carrying the Palantir like in his back pocket? Like, who is he being corrupted by? Anyway,
maybe the Dark Wizard, who may or may not be Saruman.
He's not. Well, who knows what he is? But in one of the unfinished tales, they talk about a dark wizard that helped turn the men of Haradrim to Sauron, which would make sense because he's supposed to be over in Rune. We'll see who he ends up being, but again, it's like it's being opaque for no reason. Just tell us.
Yeah, I got into that in the last episode where I was like, enough with, I'm just going to be all cute and withhold the name. Just tell us already, like, this is silly. How do you all feel about this version of Gil-galad? Because in this episode, you get Elrond showing up and saying, look, it's all gone Pete Tong. Celebrimbor is no longer, on the path of righteousness. And we have a whole bunch of orcs coming up against us. And Gil-galad's all like, oh, I can't face Sauron and Adar at the same time. How are you feeling about Gil-galad? And also, why can't he face them both off? Like, one's got an army and one's like a supernatural corrupting power. It's not like you're splitting your army into 2.
So I'll say kind of what I put into the chat that we had going. Finrod, who is actually Galadriel's brother who died fighting Sauron, not seeking him out in some kind of crazy adventure. He was helping out Perrin and Luthien on the quest to retake a Silmaril. Anyway, he fought Sauron with songs of power that left him exhausted. So I believe that one thing is like having a physical army, which all the elves thought that evil was banished from the world and probably, put their weapons into plowshares instead, or whatever the saying is. So they don't have a standing army to face an army of orcs. And then that this like having to deal or strive with Sauron through like songs of power or some kind of elven magic or whatever it is would exhaust him physically. So I think that's why he said that. I don't know why, because Mithril, prevents the corruption of whatever the fuck is happening with the trees. Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about, which is sort of not Celebrimbor related, is you got Galadriel, who has been captured, I guess, by Adar, and he's like, but you're not my prisoner. I want to make an alliance with you, and we fight our common enemy, Sauron, with all the R's. Does that happen in the books?
No.
No.
I don't recall. I mean, I honestly don't recall anything from like Unfinished Tales that would hint at like the orcs are just trying to live their lives, man. Like, leave them alone. They're really good at heart. But like, I think in one of the podcasts, I came up with Eugene, the reluctant orc, that just was like, "Oh my god, I just want to farm, man!" Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, they're inherently evil because that's what Melkor made them to be, and that they kind of we see it in the Hobbit. Like, there's a great orc kingdom and the Goblin King under the Misty Mountains, and they harry travelers and can raid places and stuff like that. And that's basically their little lives. I don't see them as being against their maker or against Sauron, because why wouldn't they have changed at the Battle of Unnumbered Tears? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, although I'm not sure I mind it. Like, people getting all like upset about baby orcs, I feel I'm cool with it. But I understand that it's in their nature because of their maker. So yeah. Okay, so let's go to Eregion, which is where basically most of the action is going on. You've got at the start, I thought a really nice scene where you see the elves and the dwarves make the. Oh, you probably hated this, right? Did you hate the fact that we saw the doors speak friend and enter? Did that strike you as a bit of Lord of the Rings kind of calling out that was just cheesy, or did you kind of enjoy that? Because I really enjoyed that.
I mean, I think it was like a throw to the kind of Tolkien nerds, because I, Celebrimbor, drew these marks and Narvi made the doors kind of thing is written on it too. And we see both Narvi and Celebrimbor. So that's pretty cool. You make stone doors away from the mountain? What the fuck? That doesn't like, what?
Yeah.
Don't you make like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You have to install the doors? Like,
Yeah.
oh god.
Why would you not install the doors? You're not literally chipping them out of the face of the wall, are you?
Of course, that way it matches the rock face, right? Anyway, that was just, it was fan service. Overall, it was fine, but like, it's just.
I'm a fan and I was served. But anyway, so you got Anatar. He is manipulating people. He is a bit upset because Celebrimbor was like, we can't make any rings. We can't give them to men because they're easily corrupted. And Anatar's like, I am a teenager and I'm stroppy and I'm just going to make them myself. And I don't
Easily corrupted by
understand.
what, Celebrimbor? Are you making evil rings? Do you know you're making evil rings? What is corrupting them? Oh, because you lied to your king, you sent a little message saying, "Oh, I closed down the forge, and that will corrupt them, dwarves and men." What the fuck? What is that?
What? And also,
Adam, glad
if
you're hungover and
Celebrimbor,
not as
sorry,
rageful as you. Oh no, just glad you're hungover and not as rageful as you might normally be.
I am kind of timid. I've been drinking water and holding my tongue, and that's me holding my tongue, by the way.
Exactly.
I mean, I liked all of this because I think it shows how good and devious Anatar is and how a good man like Celebrimbor, or good elf, gets corrupted. So I like all of this stuff, and I like the actor who plays Celebrimbor. I think he does it really well. The only thing I didn't really understand is if you don't want anyone forging these rings, why don't you just close the forge? Why are you allowing Anatar to carry on with his experimental ring making with all of your apprentices? It's like, that didn't feel very effective.
It really does Celebrimbor dirty, because in the lore, he makes the rings for the dwarves, he makes the rings for the men, and then he forges the three in secret. And when Sauron attacks Region, he tortures Celebrimbor for the location of the nine, the location of the seven, and then Celebrimbor dies before giving up the location of the three.
Mm.
So, like, he forged them, with good intentions to give to men, not because they were easily corrupted, because he wanted to help them create things and, maintain their lands in peace. And, like, he didn't know that the one was being forged until Sauron actually put it on. Where Sauron's forging the one right now, because he's not in Mordor, like, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
But the order's all wrong, right? Because as far as I remember reading what I've read of Tolkien, basically Anatar comes and teaches Celebrimbor about rune making and some of the finer parts of ringcraft, and they make minor rings, and then they make the rings for the men and the dwarves, and then
Right, the
Anatar.
rings of power.
Yeah, and then Anatar goes off and then forges the One Ring, and Celebrimbor forges the 3 elven rings, right?
Correct.
So what they've actually done in this show, which is very simple-minded, is they've taken the poem from Lord of the Rings, 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, etc., and they're having the rings being forged in the order of the poem, but rather than building up the craft. Like, it's kind of weird to say, oh wow, we've crafted these 3 elven rings, which are like some of the most powerful apart from the One Ring, but now Anatar's goofing around, like failing to craft the manly man rings, and making mistakes. But Celebrimbor knows something. I mean, it just, the ordering of it, I don't know why they changed it, and it feels like they've just changed it to follow the pattern of the poem, which is really dumb, but I don't know.
Yeah. One thing that I do like is that the dwarves are able to be like, oh, it's not really corrupting, it's helping them out. So, I don't know, what, horse sense that Durin has that he's like, these rings are something bad. But, like, I could see how they were attracted to them, because they obviously pay off, because Durin, his father, the king, is finding all the ways to, get sunlight back into the mountain or whatever the fuck happened. So I can see why they were, enticed and corrupted by them.
And I think it probably helps, doesn't it, showing just how starving the dwarfs were, and that, like, you could understand that Durin is driven, not mad, but like he sees this ability for his people to survive, and if you rule a people and take that seriously, that would be very seductive in a way.
Do
But
we
he's
buy
also,
that though?
I don't know, I just feel like he was already so kind of ring mad in this episode. I'm like, what are you going to do when the One Ring is crafted? Because you already seem pretty far gone, mate. I mean, like, if you think of the ring as kind of like an addiction, I mean, he's pretty full on gone by the end of this episode already.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't buy the starving dwarves as a catalyst of him, like, being corrupted by the ring. Like, they're dwarves. They don't. If they weren't dwarves, they'd be out farming and making food. Like, it's never really discussed. How they get their food into the mountain. Even in, like, the Lonely Mountain, I think they trade with Dale. But, like, they don't produce their own stuff. They produce, metal and armor and, things like that, and trade them for food. So I don't know.
Did you also like how Disa goes to the market? There's now a ring tax, or a whatever you want to call it, which is so dumb. And the ball then rolls, and there's a bit of comedy pratfalling. And she discovers this whole secret spooky cave, but it's next to the market that she's always been going to. That was convenient. And what was in it that freaked her out? Like proto Balrog or something? I'm like, what? I don't know.
I mean, I thought that that's what it was. It was either proto Balrog, which doesn't show up for, like, in the timeline, like I said, like a couple thousand years, or maybe it was the Watcher that ends up at in front of the gates in the Fellowship.
Okay.
But something's skeezed her out. But yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, I never noticed this crack in the. Oh, there's a whole grotto back here. Like, come on. Give the dwarves some credit. Like, they would have made that into, like, a sauna or something like that. Yeah.
As a layperson, I kind of thought that they did grow their own food in there, didn't they? I don't know. That's
because once you get the sun shafts coming in,
they showed like crops.
huh?
In the show, they did.
Yeah.
But in the books, I don't think they ever make it a point of how they get their food besides, like I said, through trade. Anyway.
I misunderstood. Okay, never mind.
You would think that they'd be able to go starving, considering they live underground.
Okay. Do you want to spend some time in Numenor before we wrap this up? So basically, we go back to Numenor. Effectively, all the Numenor,
such a shit.
all the Númenorian officers who were loyal to the Queen are being sacked. We have a little "Oh Captain, my Captain" scene with Elendil, and Muriel is like touching his heart in a very kind of moody kind of a way. And then the shit stick that is Cameron kills Valandil, which is very sad. I felt sad. That worked for me as a scene.
Nepo baby gets mad and stabs someone who actually has talent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't know his name.
But it was very sad, but
Valendil, was that what it was?
Yeah, Valandil.
I think I don't mind the two little hobbit girls, but honestly, I think he was the only character that I actually actively enjoyed. So that was sad. I was bummed.
Yeah. At one point, I did think, like, before then they were going to go, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," but luckily they didn't quite lift as badly as that.
Is there supposed to be like semi-sexual tension between Muriel and Elendil?
Yes, I was feeling that. The way she kept stroking his chest.
And the way he was looking at her hand, is that not something that we're supposed to know about already? Is that a thing, Matt?
there is no Muriel, so I don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
What? Muriel doesn't exist in the source material.
I mean, let me search the internet, but I don't think so.
Huh. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm assuming she's a love interest until proven otherwise. It would be hilarious for the concept of Tolkien on screen to get an actual sex scene.
So Muriel, the only Muriel in the books is the mother of Feanor, who burnt up after giving birth to him.
Okay.
Who is the great-great-grandmother of Celebrimbor.
I find the timeline, I mean, all of this stuff, and Elrond is basically, what's the name, Galadriel's son-in-law? Am I getting that right? I find the timeline, like these timelines, very hard to get my head around.
Elrond is Galadriel's son-in-law.
That's right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because Elrond and Elros were not Elendil. Jesus Christ, my brain isn't working. Elendil's son,
Galadriel and Celeborn have a daughter called Celebrianne,
who married Elrond.
Yeah.
So I guess
but they're all basically descendants of Galadon. So Galadon has
Who the fuck is Galadon?
Galadon has Celeborn and Galathiel, and then Celeborn marries Galadriel, has Celebrianne. But Galathiel has Nimloth, who has Elwind, and Erendil, who have Elrond, according to the internet. This may be spurious.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Galadriel is
there is no Muriel.
She's definitely Elrond, yeah. Muriel, who the fuck knows? Anything else you want to nerd rage out about this episode, or in general, about life in general?
Yeah, being hungover in your 40s sucks.
It does indeed. I find everything is just worse in your 40s. Like, jet lag is a motherfucker. Just your body starts breaking down and it's not good.
Yeah. I kind of like how they set up the Hobbit lore, that like going on adventures or doing something adventurous is like seen as weird or uncanny and very un-Hobbit-like and not having Hobbit sense. And I think that, it harkens back to what we're being shown now and the trouble that, going on adventures is causing the other groups of hobbits.
What's going to happen next? Are we going to get a big battle as Adar tries to wage war on Gil-galad? That could be quite epic.
So yeah, there is no Adar in the books. Erakion is sacked by Sauron, and with the help of the dwarves, Celeborn is spirited away to what will become Lothlorien. And Elrond and Gil-galad attack, and Sauron brings out his army with a naked and arrow-ridden Celebrimbor as his banner. So that's pretty epic. And then they fight, and Elrond escapes and creates Rivendell, and Sauron escapes to Mordor. So that's how it is in the books. We'll see what they do
in the show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And don't at me. My brain is very slow. I may have fucked that up a little bit, but.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on Avok after a while. Thank you for coming and nerd raging with us. And,
yeah, no problem. My triumphant return to podcasting. Let's do it more often.
Absolutely. Well, episodes will continue to be published and will inspire further rage.
True.
All right, listeners, jump on the Discord and tell us how angry and/or Zen-like and White Ravenish you are about this show. Otherwise, we'll probably do an episode when the season finishes, because I'm not sure there's enough, excitement to do this episode by episode. But with that, thank you to Varley and Amber for jumping on, folks.
Thanks, Mina. Thanks, Amber. So, are we just covering this past episode?
Yeah, but given that you went on the first 1 to 4, if you want to talk shit about them too, please do. I want to also read into the testimony of the courtroom. Greg's thoughts on apparently just episodes 1 and 2. He's so angry and he hasn't even seen them all yet.
I mean, it really does. If you read the books and spend time with them, you really know that they've condensed about 2,000 years of history into 6 months.
But how else are you meant to do it as a TV show, man? It's I don't know.
I get it. But they're using third age stuff. It just doesn't make. I don't know.
I think they're doing what they can do within the kind of realms of what they can do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'm mostly just here to lurk and not have much to say about the show.
Well, your thoughts are valuable. Otherwise, it's just going to be Varley raging, which will also be amusing. But
I'm too hungover to really rage, but I think I could come up with something.
Weirdly enough, I don't actually. It's probably one of my least favorite shows that I'm still continuing to watch. So I'm not gonna balance the discourse much, but I'll pop in.
I think a lot of people feel that way, right? I don't think it's anyone's actually favorite show. I think Brett and I may be the people who mind it, who don't get worked up about the differences. But even for me, it wouldn't be in my top 5 shows I'm currently watching.
Well, I don't even know what the differences are because I'm not familiar enough with any of the source material, but I just don't think it's a very good show. And I'm not sure, it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly why, but I'll pop in from time to time and say, yeah, I don't like that.
It's not very funny, is it? Game of Thrones was heavy and dark and political, but it had its flashes of just hilarity. And I think this is very earnest, and you sort of miss that Merry and Pippin occasional lighthearted.
Oh no, we got the Harfoot in the stores in the last the episode before last. So we have all the stupid people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.